Today, we're going to talk about a bill so massive it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around it. We're doing a deep dive into the financial cost of a modern war. We're going to break down the price tag for the US-Iran conflict, everything from the cost of a single missile all the way down to the price you and I pay at the pump. Let's get right into it.
So I want to start with just this number, $11.3 billion. Just take a second and think about what that could possibly represent. The budget for a small country, maybe? The cost of an entire fleet of new aircraft carriers? What do you think?
You ready for this? That was the estimated bill for just the first 6 days of the war. That's an absolutely insane burn rate, right? It just gives you an idea of the sheer scale of the resources being poured into this thing from the very, very beginning. Okay, so let's jump into our first section here, the war's staggering bill. We're basically going to follow the money to try and understand how a conflict can get this expensive this fast.
Which, really brings us to the anatomy of that cost. What in the world is driving this kind of astronomical spending? I'll give you a hint. It's not just about paying soldiers. It's all about the incredibly expensive high-tech hardware of modern warfare.
So check this out. A huge chunk of the upfront cost comes from munitions. In those first few days, the U.S. used hundreds of these super sophisticated Tomahawk missiles. Each one can cost around $3.5 million. Now, as the war goes on and Iran's defenses get worn down, the military can switch to much, much cheaper bombs. But those initial strikes? Unbelievably expensive.
And it's not like the spending just fell off a cliff after that first week. Not at all. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a really respected defense think tank, by day 12, the war was still costing an estimated $385 million per day. It's just this sustained high-level burn of cash.
But you might be wondering, are these numbers really that unusual for a U.S. military operation? To really get a handle on the scale of this, we need a little context. So let's see how this conflict really stacks up against other major wars in recent memory.
This quote from an official who served under President George W. Bush, it really says it all. We're talking about people who are deeply familiar with the massive budgets for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and even they were shocked by the sheer speed of the spending in this conflict.
And, well, this chart just lays it out perfectly. After only 1 month, the Iran war could have cost over $20 billion. Now look at the comparison. At its absolute peak, the war in Afghanistan cost about $10.9 billion a month. This new conflict, it's just in a completely different league.
So what gives? Why is this so much more expensive? Well, the crucial thing to understand here is that this is a totally different kind of war. There are no boots on the ground, which is what we usually associate with high costs. Instead, all that money is going towards deploying and maintaining these massive, incredibly expensive naval fleets, and of course, firing a constant stream of those multi-million-dollar missiles we just talked about.
All right, so that kind of covers the direct military bill. But the true cost of war is never just what you spend on weapons, right? So now we're going to pivot and look at the indirect economic consequences. And we're going to start with the one thing that connects all of us, oil.
Take a look at this. This is the price for Brent crude, which is kind of the global benchmark for oil. It's sitting around $119 a barrel. Now, this specific price is what they call a futures contract. That's basically just an agreement to buy oil at a set price for delivery at a later date. But that's not the whole story.
Yeah, let's just quickly clear this up because it's important. The spot price is what you'd pay for a barrel of oil for delivery right here, right now. The futures price we just saw is more of a bet on where the price is going to be in a few months. And because of all the uncertainty from the war, there's a huge gap opening up between the two. And here is that spot price, $140 a barrel. That is the highest it has been since 2008. It's even higher than after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So why? Well, it's because traders are looking at this conflict raging in the Strait of Hormuz, and they see no end in sight. And that's creating this massive scramble for the oil that's available today.
And look, this isn't just some abstract number on a trader's computer screen. This global oil shock has very, very real consequences for people living thousands of miles away from the fighting. Let's look at a quick case study to see exactly how this plays out.
Let's talk about Pakistan. It's a country that is incredibly dependent on imported oil. And guess what? A lot of that oil has to pass right through the now disrupted Strait of Hormuz. Because of the shortages and price spikes, the government there has already been forced to raise fuel prices, not once, but twice. And they're directly citing the war as the reason. And just look at the impact this has on an average person. Since the war started, the price of petrol is up 77%. Diesel, it's up a staggering 87%. And this isn't just about making it more expensive to drive your car. This affects the cost of transporting literally everything, which means the price of food goes up. It just ripples through the entire economy and hits every single person right in their wallet.
So we've seen the direct military bill, and it's measured in the billions. And we've seen the indirect economic shock that's being felt at gas stations all around the world. It really all leads to one final, pretty unsettling question, doesn't it? With no clear end to this conflict in sight, what is the true cost, in dollars, in resources, and in human impact, that is still yet to be paid?